We love our pets. They're our best friends as we navigate life's ups and downs with a wag or a purr just when we need it. The Royal Veterinary College is there for our pets, home to Europe's largest small animal referrals hospital, with over 200 specialists providing expert care 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The bond between a pet and their person is worth fighting for, and that's the belief that inspired the RVC Memory Tree, a beautiful handmade sculpture standing in the heart of the RVC Small Animal Referrals Hospital, adorned with gold, silver and copper leaves, each one engraved with the name of a beloved pet, and each one funding the extraordinary work happening there every day. For just £10 a month, you can dedicate a leaf in the name of your pet, celebrating your pet's life, whilst also helping to fund life-saving treatment and care for animals in need. Visit rvcact.com/memory tree to dedicate a leaf today and let your pet's memory live on.
It's Sunday, July 12th, and this is Doing the Thing. I'm Ashleigh Stiles, and I am here with Sadie and Stauney from More Than A Muse. How you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, this is a show we do listening on Wizard Radio. If you're listening live on Wizard Radio Station, where we do the thing every Sunday from 8 p.m. UK time, you can get involved via the website, of course. So, there's a couple of things going on this week. Obviously, right now, literally kicking off, I believe as we speak, as it's an 8 p.m. kickoff time, UK time, it is the World Cup final. Spain and Argentina are facing off for the first time for them in World Cup history, and for the first time, there's going to be a halftime show for the World Cup. So, first of all, off the bat, obviously, you guys are Americans, it's in your country, but have you been following the World Cup?
You know what? I am kind of ashamed to say that no, not really, except for on social media. I've been flooded with so many wholesome videos, at least for when the World Cup started, of different people coming to America and experiencing the more goofy things, I think, about our culture here around the States. I wish I could say I was perfectly following the World Cup. This feels completely wrong, especially now that I am learning in real time that it's actually starting right now, the finals. So, yeah, abysmal. I'm so sorry. I haven't been. I don't know if Stauney has, though.
Mainly just the memes. I saw a ton of stuff about, like, Norway and then the Irish in Boston and everything, but haven't really... Or the Scottish.
I was going to say, it was the Scottish in Boston.
Yeah.
Boston, yeah.
Don't want to get them confused.
About how much I know.
Well, I was almost going to ask you, about the review too, do you live in places where fans have descended upon? Have there been any matches in your localities? Because obviously I did see a number of places, both big and small, across the US, Mexico and Canada, where people were getting a taste of the local culture. Have you met anybody who's there for the Cup or not?
I mean, I'm in Nashville, and I can't remember what country, but I do know there was someone that had like a base camp here. Not necessarily, I mean, granted, I'm a local. I don't go necessarily downtown to Broadway, where probably all of the people traveling from around the world are going to go. I do know there have been plenty of watch parties around Nashville, though. It's Music City, so it's always fun and it's always crazy. But yeah, shout out. Actually, I'm gonna look that up right now. Who had their base camp in Nashville? But I don't think Stauney. I think Stauney's in a little bit more of a niche area than I'm at least in a main city.
Yeah, I'm in southern Utah, so there was no.
A bit far afield, perhaps, for a...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, granted, some of them were in, like, places that I never would imagine would be, like, a main place for a team, like, kind of more rural areas. So hearing about the different places that different countries were coming to in America, it was kind of fun for me to see, because I was like, oh, why are they going there in Tennessee, or, like, why are they going to Nebraska? Like, it doesn't really seem like a big place to go. So it's kind of fun to see that, too.
That was the one that stuck out to me. I think it was the Algerian team. Ended up in some small town somewhere. I forget where. But the town turned out, which was very heartening
Which
to
is
see,
really
I guess.
sweet. Yeah, the local fans being like, and now we are the biggest fans of that country, and we're rooting for them now. It's really sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and maybe you guys haven't been following the football so much, but perhaps you will be more enthralled by the halftime show. Something that I think I can say, and I don't claim. So in terms of my watching it, I don't watch like league football. I do watch when England are playing in the World Cup, or Wales as well, because I have Welsh family. They weren't in it this time, unfortunately, but I think I can speak for many Europeans in terms of saying quite confidently that the halftime show has been controversial
Okay.
in the World Cup. Well, we don't have halftime shows in our
Yeah.
sports. It's sport,
Oh.
and then there's a little break for hydration and for halftime, and then it's back to sports. Whereas I'm given to understand in American sports, it's more of a thing. So are you guys jazzed? It's going to be Madonna, Shakira, BTS, and Justin Bieber. They're going to try and fit that in half an hour.
Wow. I think it's actually cool, but like you said, I'm from like the American football, excuse me. To big, what's it called, Super Bowl every year. Like I mainly am watching for the halftime show. Like that's my reason to tune into sports. So when I saw that there was going to be a halftime show for this, I was like, but of course, what do you mean? So, I mean, I'm a fan, and it seems like they tried to cover their bases as far as like people who would be interesting to, a variety of fans.
Yeah, it is quite a lot of star power for like an hour. But
Oh, it's going to be less than an hour.
oh.
Yeah, football halftime is not very long.
Wait, I am actually really curious though of like what is the controversy? Because like you said, to us it's normal. Even like those small like regional games, like they do something goofy at the halftime. So like what's the controversy? Like why do you think people aren't as like potentially thrilled about this?
Well, between this and the hydration breaks, which they put in, so I don't know if you all heard about that as well. So football, our football, your soccer, is typically played in two halves. Each half is 45 minutes for 90 minutes in total, and there is a halftime in between, but it's not very long. And the idea is that it's one continuous game that essentially you play through with a little break, versus some American sports. I mean, I'm a baseball fan, so it's 9 innings, and there's a break between each inning when they're switching the batters over and everything. So it's lots of breaks, and it's the same with American football. You're stopping play every time there's a down. Whereas in something like rugby, another principally European sport, you go down and play continues, basically.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. So the idea is that between the hydration breaks and the halftime show, I think a lot of fans from around the world, not just Europe, but South America, Africa, Asia, are saying this feels like an attempt to really Americanize football. We've gone from having one long game with a little break to now there's 4 mandatory breaks and then halftime, and the halftime's going to have a big show, so we've extended it, and there's all these ads. British TV, we don't get the ads because we have a different way of TV working in this country. But it's like, these hydration breaks are very important for player health, even in air-conditioned stadiums. And now we're putting ads in the hydration breaks, and we're putting ads in the halftime show, and it just feels that's sort of why there's this vibe of like, okay, I see what you're doing here. We're just trying to really milk the ad time. I think that's the sort of vibe about it.
That is pretty American.
Yeah.
Milking the ad time.
Yeah, really. I'm like, yeah, perhaps that's the most American thing about it is it's like, how could we make more money from this? And it's
Well, that's the
Of
sort of
course.
thing. The idea is like, obviously it's like a big pageantry and people will watch for the for the big stars, but the idea is like, given that football is the most popular sport in the world, there's going to be like 1 billion people watching the final. It's like, this is hearing like on social media, and obviously social media is always like a little microcosm, right? But people being like, this is going to bring so many eyes to the sport. It's just that I don't think most of the people are watching are not going to be watching for the halftime show.
Yeah, I agree. That's really interesting. And honestly, I feel like that's my personal beef that I have with American football is because, like, it just feels like we could wrap this up so much sooner, And it just feels like there's so little actual playing time, and it's just stopping and starting and stopping. And, I mean, like, it's like the joke of, like, oh, cool, there's only, like, 5 minutes left of the last quarter. So in my head, it's like, oh, the game's almost over. But it's like, no. This is another 35, 40 minutes minimum, it seems, with ads and, timeouts and everything. So I definitely appreciate, as far as sports go, the idea of, like, nope, let's just play one long game. So interesting, though. I never, feel like I wouldn't have even considered it. I guess, I'm so in my own little bubble. I was like, oh, it could be different. Huh. Seems good, though.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of a halftime show, so if you guys were watching principally for the halftime show, for this one we have Madonna, Shakira, BTS, and Justin Bieber. I'm guessing they're going to get one song each, because again, I don't know how they're going to cram it into a football halftime, but if is that your ideal? Who would you slot in? Who would you want to see on the biggest stage?
I think it's like fitting some of the acts they got, considering it was like who was hosting, you know, North America, and they have Justin Bieber from Canada and Madonna and Shakira. BTS feels a little bit more random, but they're one of the largest artists in the world, so that makes sense at the same time with a global audience. So, I don't know, it seems like a good lineup. I mean, it's not necessarily like my personal music taste necessarily. I mean, I'm always down for Taylor Swift being on more stages, but
well, I think she's got American football. She's got that market cornered with the Kelsey connection.
She really does.
So I guess neither of you two necessarily have like a dog in the fight of the finals, it being Spain and Argentina. I know, obviously, I'm not sure of everybody's nationalities strictly. Justin Bieber is Canadian, I know this much, and BTS are from South Korea. But they don't have either a Spanish or an Argentinian performer at the halftime show, and those are the two that are playing. Might they have gone a little further afield for artists, or do you think this is just a case of, well, we just wanted to get the big ones in?
I feel like it's probably a let's get the big ones in. And like you said, I mean, if there's going to be a billion eyes on this, event, I guess they were trying to appeal to as many of those eyeballs as they could with their favorite picks. I'm not sure. I don't know. Do you have like a stake in this game? Like, who are you hoping takes home? I've actually seen a little bit about like the bad. Well, I'm sorry. I guess I don't know the arguably bad calls that have been made throughout this, and then using like technology to do it. And so I know people have pretty hot opinions on this all, but are you rooting for one winner for this game?
For this game, yeah, I'm rooting for Spain.
Okay, cool.
And that's because England went out to Argentina in the last game. So I'm not going to be rooting for Argentina.
Actually, yes. Okay,
yeah.
I'll root for Spain too. I'm convinced.
But, you guys pick whoever you want. You pick whoever you want. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be many people in England rooting for Argentina in this game. And in terms of referee calls, it's one of those things where when your team loses, it's a little bit of, could the calls have been better? I think there's consensus that broadly throughout the tournament they could have been. Obviously, there was a lot of contention around the United States team and the calls regarding Balogun and his being allowed to play, and certain individuals making certain calls to certain heads of FIFA, and getting rules twisted and changed. So there was some controversy throughout the tournament in general.
Going back to the halftime show, I do want to know who would be on your ideal lineup. What do you think about the acts for this show?
That's a good question. I'm a big punk fan, so a lot of the acts I would pick would not go down well with a big global audience. I don't think it would be particularly appropriate. So in terms of picking, I do think I would have tried to have found, and maybe it'd be too close to time because you don't know who's going to be in the final until a few days before because it's a tournament. But I would have tried, if I was FIFA with the infinite FIFA money, I would have tried to get some artists from a variety of the countries who were, at least in the group stages, on speed dial, so we could bring him in for the final and be like, if we're going to have, if it's going to be 30 minutes, halftime show, or 45 minutes, however long it's going to be, we're going to have two artists, one from this country, one from this country, and then everybody feels represented, and you get to do like a little Eurovision thing. You get to bring on people from those countries and show it off to the world, rather than just picking
that's a good
the
point.
biggest names.
I will say, as far as like the time constraint, I feel like just from watching the American football, like big halftime show every Super Bowl, like you'll be surprised how much they can get done in those like 20 to 30 minute slots. Like I think about Bad Bunny with his last halftime show. I mean, I personally really enjoyed it, but like the sets and the dancers and like, and all of the historical like shows that we've seen, like people can really add in a lot in those short amount and like make pretty like strong artistic statements. Granted, I mean, there's a lot more people, but even still, like a lot of times they're bringing on guests and, I don't know. I mean, there's that one joke at one time Coldplay did it, but then he invited Bruno Mars and Beyonce, and the kind of joke is now is like, oh wow, like, Bruno Mars and Beyonce kind of took that halftime show because they just were such great performers and everyone was so excited that they were there that now people forget that unfortunately actually it was Coldplay that was headlining that, but it's still, they did a great job regardless in that halftime show. Anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, if it's going to be as rehearsed and as much of a production as, like, American football halftime shows are, or if it'll be more of, like, a concert kind of situation. Like, I'm interested to kind of see the technical
You'd
aspect of
think
this,
they'd
too.
try and make it as similar as possible, right? In terms
Yeah.
of like, y'all seem to have that down pat, as you say, in terms of
Yeah.
getting the stuff in, doing the show, and then getting it out in a relatively
Mm-hmm.
short time frame.
Yeah, I'll be interested. And I'm like, is there going to be artist interaction? You know, like, are we going to see Madonna and Shakira and BTS just all on stage together? Like, super group it? Or is it going to be everyone's going to take turns, you know? I'm really hoping for a super group. I feel like what an eclectic bunch to all be on stage together. I'd love to see it.
Truly.
I was going to say, it's a lot of star power crammed into a really tiny space.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In a short amount of time, too, like you said.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, in terms of other things that have been going on this week, Netflix, to move the conversation away from football, because I'll have the little ticker on the background. I'll tell you all if anybody scores. I'm not watching the game, and I've got
Okay,
the BBC's
good.
live tracker. Our audience will want to know if there's anybody based. So, Netflix, their series Heartstopper, finished. Heartstopper Forever, the feature film, was released, which wraps up the show's storylines, I'm given to understand. It's one of the highest viewed shows, at least at the minute, on Netflix, and has been kind of championed as a really big LGBTQ plus show. Obviously, we're now a little down the line from Pride Month, but have either of you two watched either the show or the movie, or both? I will put my cards on the table and say that I didn't, because I haven't been watching much of TV recently.
I too have not actually seen it. I feel like I've also been really behind on TVs and movies. I played a catch up with some like other big movies this like last week, but I don't know, Stauney, have you seen it?
I haven't either. I missed it completely.
But
No.
again, I see all the discourse online, like it seems really wholesome and nice, so I feel like I'll eventually have to get to it.
Well, okay, so I mean, did either of you two see Heated Rivalry? Which is also one I didn't see, but
But
another
it's similar.
related,
Yeah.
similar.
I don't have HBO Max, but it is one of those things that every single person I meet, I have like every friend in real life is like, so when are you getting this? When are you logging in and watching the show? Because you need to see the show. So yeah, I again, I'm still behind on it. Not as good at keeping up on my TV shows, but it's come very highly recommended from many, many different people in my life.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen more of like the discourse, the memes, the like social media aspect of it, and I did miss the show as well. But
It's funny how I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still a part of it though, just from viewing things online and kind of seeing the craze, especially about those two actors, and I like know the story of them kind of both being relatively unknown, and like so it's fun to kind of still be a part of it in a way culturally, but haven't actually clocked in to see the shows.
Well, in which case, I don't know how much mileage we'll be able to get out of these sort of opinions on the actual shows themselves, given none of us saw.
Correct.
But it was interesting. You guys both mentioned you had seen The Discourse. What is The Discourse?
I mean, I think that the big thing that people are talking about is just like the importance of like the representation, right, of these couples. And I think it's really cool to see it resonating with so many people and becoming more of like a normal thing. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you know, of just like fully more accepted and just people being excited about seeing good love stories being portrayed. You know what I mean? I'm thinking specifically with like Heartstopper and like that kind of. I think it's like more of like a coming of age, and I think it's just cool to like see it from a variety of different perspectives, and that like so many people are excited about watching these shows, you know. And I think that's what's like so cool is that it's not like a weird niche part of the internet anymore. It's become something that like even people who haven't watched it, they're aware of it too, you know. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff about how just like there's a tendency with a lot of LGBTQ plus stories to have like tragedy kind of interwoven into it, and so how nice it is to have like more just wholesome, true stories taking place with that kind of representation.
And just showing like almost like a rom-com. We have so many rom-coms. Everyone loves a good rom-com. And like you said, have it not be laced with tragedy.
I did see. It didn't escape my notice in the last couple of years. We've seen more queer rom-coms coming up and about. Only insofar as you say, it historically has always been kind of more like tragically focused. And I did see there was a Christmas one that came out, at least in the UK. I don't know, like a year ago, 2 years ago, or something. And I don't remember it. Didn't watch it, but I do remember seeing it and being like, "Oh, that seems kind of nice." You know,
Yeah,
they had
exactly.
Kristen Stewart in it.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think it did
Yeah.
have Kristen Stewart in it.
But one that just wasn't like, oh man, this looks like it's gonna be sad. One that looks instead like, oh, this is probably gonna be, you know.
Exactly. I think it takes it away from that being like the whole point of the movie is like, them overcoming the trauma and more of just like, hey, we fell in love and isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. So in terms of like, positive representation, is this something that either of you two, do you think it's a good thing that we're shifting towards stories that are just kind of purely positive, and not like purely positive, not saying that these shows do or don't have like up or down moments, was the tragic stuff a symptom of maybe a time, do you think? Is this like, because things are not necessarily getting better around the world for the queer community, is this symptomatic of people wanting just nicer stories, or I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think there is an element. I think in general, people are wanting more lighthearted media, and I think that that's something that's been missing. I mean, I'm just thinking like general rom-coms in general, like that's kind of been missing from like big blockbuster releases and things like that. And I know there's probably a variety of reasons for it, but I think in general, people like want that. Maybe it's a form of escapism. Maybe it's just like wanting to, feel hope amidst the fact that things don't feel as settled in. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that people are looking for it, but then that there's also creators that are responding to that, and being like, you know what, not everything has to feel so heavy all the time. Like, let's show you something that, can make you feel hopeful and, focuses on the good in the world and like, the love that can still be felt and all that.
Yeah, I think maybe it's that they don't necessarily feel like the stories always have to be making as much of a statement anymore. Like, it could just be a lighthearted love story and still have representation in it. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a political statement every single time. And that was probably, like you said, a symptom of the time. But
well, is that a statement in and of itself? Without getting too tautological and
so.
philosophical, is it a statement of itself to make a show that isn't a statement?
I think so. I think that like it becomes in a way maybe more digestible to people outside of it too, that it's like if it's just showing it as like a normal good thing, it like maybe outside people would be more willing, and I agree. I think just showing it as like a normal good thing and not making a focal point, I think that can really help that, and I think you said it's a state, it can be a statement.
So in terms of if this is doing this for, well, yeah, no, I would pretty much agree with that. Only insofar as I think that pretty much whenever you make any kind of TV show, you are making a statement about something. It's kind of impossible to make any art without making a statement, especially given that, at least from my own personal experience, at least in my country at the minute, for my community, living is political, existing is political. There's no way to go about your life without being sort of courted into being political. If you are a queer person, again, at least in the UK at the minute, with the way some things have been going. So, I think that any show has an element of a statement in it. Totally. But it can be that it is necessary to have things that are positive in the broad, because otherwise it does just become a bit of a sort of downbeat slog, I think. Yeah. Which is, and that's not to say like that people aren't highlighting those issues or aware of the issues of the negative side of things. More just to say that we get a lot of that in the day-to-day. You don't necessarily need that all the time in the escapism as well. So I can understand the appeal of shows like that. So from that front, if this is getting this treatment, it's getting the sort of, again, I'm not going to say saccharine because that's got a connotation as a word to it, but the pleasant. If this is getting the pleasant treatment, are there any other shows you would want to see? Are there any other issues that could do with shows where maybe the issue is not front and center, but it's sort of woven into the text of the story for the purposes of highlighting? I don't know. Does it work with anything else other than things like this? Because obviously this is like a rom-com, so it's kind of
Yeah.
works with relationships kind of just by its the way that it is.
Totally. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think of like even like almost like a sitcom type of shows, you know, like Abbott Elementary is one that I don't know if you've heard of. Like I just think it's like showing schools and showing teachers and like the things that they go through. Like I think that like that's kind of a fun thing about those type of sitcoms that like highlight professions is I think that in some ways they can kind of make, you know, statements about like what's going on and but also it being like, you know, like through the lens of it being it's supposed to be funny, you know, like it's supposed to make you laugh. It's almost supposed to poke fun at like the ridiculous situations that people find themselves in. But then it also can, you know, highlight actual problems, you know, with those different structures. So that was one thing that came to mind is I think like I miss having like all those sitcoms. Like I feel like when I was growing up, there's so many different ones that were on at the same time, and now I can't really think of one that's like actively, you know, putting out shows. Or like Modern Family was a big one, you know, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but in the United States, you know, that just like showed a bunch of different family dynamics and just kind of showed the funny things that they all got up to, and it was like it was fun, you know, and it made people laugh.
Is it then better, do you guys think, to do it that way, having, you know, elements of the show sort of woven in, versus the way I think it was sort of perhaps done historically? I'm thinking like now 80s, 90s sitcoms where you'd
Yeah.
have like the sort of, what do you call it, like the after school special kind of thing, where here's the
Yeah.
episode that's about this, and here's the episode that's about this, and it's very on the nose. Is that just a sign of like, I don't know, like progression in allowing more voices into writing, that now things are a bit more subtle?
Yeah,
Um,
maybe. Or maybe it's like one of those things too where it's like it doesn't have to be as like if they're a part in theory if they're like a part of the writing process, then it's like, hey, it doesn't have to be like this big thing. It can just be normal. It can just be a part of life, you know? And like maybe that's better. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's like being treated as less of something that they have to like check off. Be like, oh, this is our diversity episode. It can just be like a more of a diverse cast, more diverse storytelling. Have it take place as a part of it.
Grand. And so in terms of like, I guess just stuff on at the minute, on like Netflix, if we haven't been watching Heartstopper and we haven't been watching anything on HBO Max, is there anything you guys have been watching recently that you recommend to the listening audience out there?
Well, I haven't been watching as many TV shows. I mean, granted, I was big on Love Island. Admittedly, the U.S. I haven't been caught up on the UK season. I think that's still going on. So that was fully taking up my summer. But I recently watched the movie Obsession, like this week, and I understand the hype. I think that was a very
So
good
good.
movie. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I've been watching. I finally am catching up on all the movies I missed out though that everyone's talking about.
No, Obsession is definitely one of those top ones, I think, of the summer.
Now, see, I'm behind at the times here as well, because I haven't yet watched Obsession, which is just a shame, because I'm usually something of a horror buff, so that's one that I need to...
It's worth it. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Have you been watching anything lately? Or sorry.
I was just
Well,
gonna say,
unfortunately, not as much myself, which is sort of why I was just throwing it over. But, yeah, well, I guess I've been watching the World Cup.
There we go. You've been watching the World
Yeah.
Cup. It's been a busy summer.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend that I watched all of the games. I watched the England ones. But,
That's
yeah, it is been a busy summer. Yeah. So, I guess sort of to wrap things up for that aspect of discussion, that's obviously a show on Netflix, Heartstopper, we're talking about here. And Heated Rivalry was also on a big streaming service. Is it a sign of anything that bigger services are willing to take swings on shows like Heartstopper, like Heated Rivalry, ones that do speak to a more a previously less platformed experience, or is that just a sign that that's what the audience is after?
You know, that's a really good question. I think though, like to kind of focus on the good side is like it is really cool that there is such a passionate fan base and audience. You know, and if everything is, money driven by these like networks, at the very least, it shows that the audience is wanting these type of stories because they have both been so widely successful. And people, like I said, we talked about earlier, like me and Stauney haven't seen them, but we've seen all the discourse. So like, I think at the very least, it's a really good sign that it just shows how much the audience is resonating with it. And I think that hopefully they'll take the cues, and they'll create more of that.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us for now on Doing the Thing. We're going to be back after a break. Remember, if you're listening live on Wizard Radio, you can get involved tweeting us or hitting us up on Instagram at Wiz Radio. All of our details are on the website, wizardradio.com. Stay tuned.
Sometimes us men don't think much about what we wear, particularly in the summer months. You find something that's not too hot, put it on and repeat until it falls apart. This episode is sponsored by Quince, and they are changing the game for men this summer. Quince makes high-quality essentials in genuinely good materials, like breathable European linen and soft organic cotton, priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They do that by working directly with ethical factories and cutting out all the middlemen. You're paying for what it actually is, not what it's been marketed as. Their European linen pants and shirts are the kind of thing you pick up as one item and end up wearing 3 times a week, starting from just $34. The tees are soft and actually fit well, and the lightweight cotton sweaters are genuinely useful when summer evenings turn on you without warning, as they tend to. And they've gone well beyond clothing. Custom upholstered sofas, ceramic cookware, premium bedding. It's become the kind of brand where you end up recommending it for everything, which is either a good sign or a sign you've become a person who recommends brands. Either way, for a man like me, the linen shirt is a game changer. You can wear it an embarrassing number of times this summer, and it never goes out of style or out of comfort. If you've been getting through summers on the same approach I used to use, then Quince is the upgrade for you. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/wizardio for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/wizardio for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/wizardio.
All right, welcome back to Doing the Thing. I'm Sadie from More Than A Muse, here with my co-host Stauney and Ashleigh Stiles. We're back to talk about everything that's going on. So the first topic that I want to bring up in this second segment is something I've been seeing a little bit more conversation about, which is that the BBC News is reporting that less young people are going out. They are not clubbing, less drinking, all of that. And maybe one of the reasons why is because there is this fear of going unintentionally viral. I think it's pretty common for people to be posting strangers on the internet, things going viral. There's a lot of things that could be going to this. So I'm curious of what your guys' thoughts are on, is going out, is clubbing, is that going out of fashion, or are people not doing that anymore? And then I want to talk about maybe why we think that is. What do you think, Ashleigh? I don't know, are you out at the club?
I was thinking about this because it was about like a week or so ago, we had a works night out. And those can sometimes go along and end up at the club. But in terms of like having to think, am I going out as much? Are my peers going out as much? I'm 28. I think a big part of the reason why I'm not going out as much is because I'm not 21 anymore.
Yeah.
So, it does still happen, but I think that's just like my perception of it has shifted just because time is passing and the way I go out is different. So I don't really... No, I had heard that it's like fewer young people are going out. Definitely it's true, I think, that fewer people as Gen Z turns to Gen Alpha are drinking, obviously in the UK.
Yeah.
Drinking at 18 rather than 21 as it is in America. So it's a little bit different in terms of like our culture, and we have quite a heavy drinking culture in the UK, so it's with a caveat to say that younger people are drinking less, because it's like less but still some. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm also exactly 28, and I never was a big, partier per se. So I'm thinking about my friends, like when my friends get together, we're going out for lunch, we're going out for dinner, we're going on walks together. So, hitting up some like maker, independent maker vendors and things like that. So I'm definitely not seeing as many of my friends going out. I think also like less friends of mine are like drinking as much. Like I've been hearing the phrase like sober curious and things like that. You know, a lot of friends like intentionally cutting down. But like I said, I don't know for sure if it's like a symptom of just like aging, and that's just kind of what happens. I don't hang around with as many 21-year-olds as I used to, of course. When I was 21, I mean. So sorry, major important caveat there. So I don't know, but it's interesting to see people talking about it, but I don't know. I think there is definitely this fear, though. I think it's so common to post strangers doing things online that I'm wary of that sometimes, even when I'm just out in my daily life. So I'm sure, you know, going out, that could definitely play effect. But I don't know, Stauney, what do you think?
I think I was thinking about music trends and how kind of I'm noticing less and less like club music coming
Yeah.
out too. That's not as much of a trend. Like when we were in high school, there was so much like
That's
club friendly
true.
music, and you know, like that was what you would hear on the radio. And thinking of what's more popular now, like even the music has changed so dramatically that I think it's kind of showing that trend.
That's a good point.
It's a good point, compounded with the fact that I remember last time I went out to a club, as I say, for this works thing, a lot of the music is music from the 90s and 2000s and 2010s.
Yeah.
It's catering to the audience, really, but a lot of it is like, hey, you remember this song? So, yeah, I think they're not so much making as much more new stuff, and what they are playing is catering not to an older relatively, crowd, to people who are in their mid to late 20s, early 30s, rather than, you know, the people who you would expect to actually be going to clubs.
Totally. I think we've talked a lot about, like, on our podcast, like, recession pop and, like, how big that was in, like, the 2000s and, like, the 2010s, and, like, how so much of the messaging of it was just, like, well, we can't control anything, so let's just go party together. Like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so we're just going to go out and get wasted and party. And it's kind of interesting how that was the kind of cultural response then. But I don't think it is this time. And it's not like there isn't, you know, there obviously is economic problems, you know, maybe, I don't know, you know, arguably maybe worse from before, maybe whatever, but it's interesting that the response this time is so different, because there's definitely, like, I feel like if someone were to release a song like that now, like, I'm thinking, like, you know, Pitbull, like, the, you know, like, those, like, songs that came out in the 2010s, if, like, a new artist came out with that song, I feel like people would be so hypercritical of it, and they would be like, this, you know, like, it would not land, I don't think, culturally, so it's interesting how the response has changed.
It's interesting you mentioned Pitbull. That kind of makes me feel a bit like the discussion that's been going on in the discourse for ages about, like, irony and sort of self-awareness, and self-criticalness in terms of how people respond to music. Do you have to be a bit sincere to jam to Pitbull? Does that sort of make sense? Is there a certain level where, in a sort of more post-irony culture, where people are a bit more self-effacing, are less, not less sincere, but less, you know, a bit like when they talked about that same time period, you had the genre that's been sort of derisively referred to as stomp, clap, hey, you know, like the indie music, the Mumford & Sons and stuff. But, you know, for all Lumineers, for all the criticisms of that genre, it was also very, like, sincere in the way that it was just
sincere.
It was its own thing. It was the artists doing their own thing, and now people look back on that and it's like, oh, wasn't that so ridiculous? Wasn't it so cringy?
Yeah.
Is that maybe also why we don't get into club music? Because people are just, they feel like they're too over club music?
I think that's a good point, especially with, like, Pitbull, because, like, I see people still online going to Pitbull concerts, but, like, they show up in a bald cap, and, like, they make it a bit, and they make it the gag that it's like, oh no, I'm ironically here to enjoy this music. When, like, first off, I'm like, no, you love it, admit it. You love that stuff in like, when you were a child, and in, you know, just own the fact that you are loving this music. And so I think there's kind of, like, a part of it where it's like so much of that was so sincere that maybe people, like, you know, they feel like it has to be a bit now, instead of just being like, no, I really just want to go dancing with my friends to this new Pitbull song, you know? Or go hit a tambourine with my friends and sing about love, you know?
Oh yeah, no, I think that's exactly right about that. It has to be a bit. And I did see the thing of Pitbull at that thing with all the people
Yep.
with the bald caps, and they made him put one on. Which, you know, he seemed to be having a good enough
He's
time. But
yeah, he's staying relevant. I'm sure he's fine with it. If people are
yeah,
coming to his shows, I'm sure it's good.
yeah,
I think it is this interesting thing, though, going back to like people not wanting to be viewed online. And I think that that's like a big conversation of like posting strangers online. I saw a video this week too. I'd be interested to know your guys' thoughts, where I'm seeing more and more people like make their accounts be about their dating life. And so what they will do is they'll share like screenshots of their conversations with different people on dating apps, or like they'll even like share voice memos about, you know, or messages that the people that they're dating sent, and like give the whole history and tell them what's going on. And they'll leave the other person completely anonymous. But the video I was seeing was just bringing up the fact of like, it is a really weird way to kind of like publicly police behaviors, where it's like, on one hand, yeah, maybe they did something wrong, but also like, is it right to actually bring it out to the court of public opinion in this way, what somebody does do in their private life? And I thought that was maybe another way that people are being exploitive online, is by sharing such intimate details of their dating lives. But I don't know. I want to know what you guys thought, if you've seen anything like that.
That's super interesting. That's also interesting to think about, because people would be like, oh, well, they put themselves online. There's a certain level of expectation that you're going to be exposed. But to what degree, I guess, is kind of the question of that too. But like, what level are you expecting privacy still online?
Totally.
yeah. That very much ties into the sort of like self-consciousness thing. I think if people are worried about being sincere and being themselves, if you want to go to the club and you want to jam to some music that you just like, and there's a chance that actually people are going to be like taking the mick out of you for it, and you know, look at this, you know, look at this person being all sincere and that, and that goes around, you know, people are sharing. I saw recently, for some reason, it's come up on my timeline, people goofing on there was a band called Steam Powered Giraffe, who were like a steampunk band from way back in the day, and people have been digging up their music videos and like kind of dunking on them a bit. And they were never really my thing, but it just struck me in that way of like, okay, but they're just having fun. Like this feels a little mean spirited. This is not the worst thing I've ever seen musically or artistically. It's a bit weird, but it's, you know.
Yeah.
So in that same vein, it's like, yeah, if you are concerned that, especially since everybody has a camera phone, that nobody doesn't have one these days. They literally don't make them in any other way unless you're buying some sort of vintage Motorola brick. And with things like flock cameras, and, you know, obviously, you know, other like, and Ring doorbells and stuff, it's like, you personally can't leave the house without the possibility that somebody might take a video of you doing something silly and putting it online. So I think it's definitely going to be wearing on people to some extent.
I think so. And I also think too, like, the internet rewards rage bait, and it rewards, you know, kind of controversy as well. I mean, like, I you know, posted a little bit on TikTok, and I made the most like lukewarm, not even a take at all. In fact, it was like a joke. And it's my most viewed video I've had in months, and like the most comments, and I'm just like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I was making a joke. Like, I made the mistake of saying that like no new music was going to be released in September because there was Labor Day, and then the following Friday is a day that it's 9/11, which is a big deal in America. You know, it's a day of remembrance. Anyways, people were very upset with me for saying, but there's the rest of the world. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was trying to make a joke, and I know there's the rest of the world. But anyway, it's just a silly little thing of like, you know, you take one little comment, and that's what always goes viral. So I think that kind of floods this, like, oh, if you see someone being ridiculous online, or if you see someone being sincere, you see someone doing something that you think is a little cringy, like, let me just put it out there, and people are going to comment on it, and maybe they'll support them, and maybe they'll be like, yeah, you're right, that's way embarrassing. Anyways, that was a tangent, forgive me.
I've seen a lot of videos actually of people filming other people in the gym and doing like exercises and stuff, and then like being reported to the gym and getting kicked out and everything, because there's usually no filming policies and stuff taking place at fitness centers. But like, how violating that feels in a lot of ways to be like going to work out and then someone's just recording you because they don't like the way that you're doing it or something.
I was going to say, please don't be saying that, because as somebody who has recently started a new gym routine, really trying to get into it, the last thing I need to be thinking of is I'm getting clowned on by people
Yeah,
judging my form.
Exactly. No, I
Well,
think that it's kind of, it makes it hard to even go out and participate in life if you feel like every single thing that you do that you might be doing wrong. Like, how self-conscious can you get? Yeah, to think that at any moment you could be filmed and posted online.
totally. And like nobody starts an expert on anything either. And so like that's the thing. The person who's new at the gym, me included, like, yeah, I probably look really dumb when I'm running on the treadmill, but that doesn't mean someone, like, but I'm trying and I want to get better at this. So I think it creates a really hard barrier of entry where it feels hard to even show up because you're like, oh, well, what if someone makes fun of me because I don't start perfect, and nobody does, obviously. So yeah, it makes something that shouldn't be embarrassing suddenly something that you have to be very self-conscious of, which sucks. Yeah.
It's true, and whether it's that or whether it's going out to a nightclub, which
Yeah.
for people can be embarrassing because you just sort of letting loose. The idea is that it's not embarrassing, that you can sort of relax, I guess, and it
should.
suddenly becomes spaces, be it the gym, be it the club, where they're not relaxing anymore, which I think is sort of defeating the point. And then maybe that's why the attendance is down, huh?
Yeah, like those are supposed to be places where like you said, let loose, have fun. I also want to talk about meta glasses because those freak me out personally. And the idea of it's like then you don't even have a camera in your face. Like you could truly just be living your life doing nothing and someone's recording what you're up to, and that I think that could feel pretty violating.
Yeah, this for me falls into the category a bit of a lot of the AI stuff. If anybody's listened to my show, know my opinions on that. Where it's a bit like smash it with hammers. This doesn't need to exist. With one caveat, I should say, that I have seen some people with disabilities say that smart glasses can help them with things. People who maybe can't read so well or have other impediments. There are uses. So caveat that maybe there are some practical applications. They don't necessarily need to. But the thing with the camera is the big thing with the meta stuff. Is I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that recently either it was Meta themselves or somebody found a way to basically disable the light that tells you that it's recording.
Oh, okay.
Which was the big thing. So it was like if the light is always on and people can see that it's recording, then at least you know that okay, well this person's got the smart glasses, but I know they're filming because you can see the light. It was either some new model or somebody jailbroke one to make it so actually you can disable the light so people don't know that you're recording and they just look like regular glasses, and then it becomes, I mean, they say to use a bit of a physical prop here, you've got your phone up,
Totally.
I'm filming you, you can see the phone. So even if somebody
you are
is
owning the fact that you are filming them, you can't hide it. Yeah.
Yeah, versus the glasses where it's like, as it says, secretly filming. And I disagree with the sort of marketing of it, which is, oh, well, these are inevitable, everybody's going to be wearing them. They don't have to be. This doesn't have to be inevitable. This is just fully a choice made by marketing. And then again, with the caveat that maybe some people need them, but yeah, no, I'm not.
I'm with you. I feel like there's this interesting thing about the marketing behind new technology where it's like, well, it's inevitable, so you might as well hop on the train so you don't get left behind. And it's an interesting thing where it feels like new technology is less about how do we make human society better and more like then how do we make certain people more money, and it feels hard to be convinced because like, wait, but I actually feel like my life was pretty good without it, and like, granted, there's so much that we've benefited from, new technology and the internet and all of that, but at a certain point when do we stop? When do we say, actually, we don't need that anymore? Like, we did it. We've done really good things. Let's put our energy into different things, I don't know.
Yeah, or even just the way that they market it. Like you said, the fact that there's people with disabilities that are benefiting from this, like that technology then is doing a good thing, but at the same time then just marketing it as this inevitable accessory that every single person is going to have is like kind of defeating the purpose of the new technology.
Yeah, like why can't it be the focus on like this is actually how it makes people's lives better versus the well, do you want to be a loser? You know?
Yeah.
Constant surveillance state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the surveillance thing is negative for two sides of an equation. I just pulled out one of the articles about these things because I wanted to double check that, like, you know, the always recording thing. A lot of the data is
Yeah.
the idea is that it's going to be analyzed by AI, but the AI has to be trained by humans, and there are workers in Kenya who are being paid, you know,
Yeah.
pittance to go through everything that's being filmed, and unfortunately that includes things like, for example, people going to the bathroom, people performing other intimate activities, the people who are wearing the glasses who forget they're wearing them, or maybe they don't forget they're wearing them, which are always on and always recording,
Yeah.
and people in, you know, countries with less developed economies are being paid pennies to have to sit through and
Pennies.
watch that. So it's, you know, getting it on both ends, the people who are being filmed and then the people who are having to pour through the data for why? For what
Yeah.
benefit? For what
For what
purpose?
benefit? Yeah, and then, I mean, going back to data then, like, the huge data centers that are being built, like, there's a really big one that's, I don't know if it's for sure going to get built, but it was arguing to be built pretty close to my hometown, like in Utah, which one of the biggest ones from O'Leary or whatever wanted to come build one in northern Utah, and it's just like, but why? Like, all of that land, like, that's already a very dry place to live. Like,
Yeah.
why, you know,
There's
that's
a
going
drought
to
every year.
inevitably, yeah, hurt the people who are living there. And if this technology isn't to help people, like, what? Like, if it's just for profits, and it's giving evil genius, you know?
If there's one thing I think about the drainage basin of the Colorado River, it's that it needs more water-intensive activity to take place there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know we had an excess of water in these places.
Of all
Yeah.
the places to build one, it's like, really? You choose the driest area?
I know.
Yeah.
Literally, my family is on, like, watch. Like, they're only able to, like, you know, use water in their yards at certain times. Like, they've had to adjust their lives, which is fine. They do it because they have to. Like, they're doing it because they're a part of a community. But, like, when, you know, tech billionaires come in and want to take even more of it, it's just like, wait a minute, what about the people who live here, who care about this land, you know? So it's really hard. Really, I don't like it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the responses of the people who live in the vicinities of these things have not been great as well.
Yeah.
The constant noise is one, which is an
Ugh.
interesting externality. Apparently, they're just always making a sort of droning background hum that can't be stopped or blocked in any way.
That sounds
Um,
miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the other thing that's interesting to me about this happened already. They say, yeah, time is a flat circle, a True Detective quote. But it
Yeah.
kind of is, because Google Glass did this 10 years ago, and it failed because people were like, well, so these things are just always on and always recording? That's a bit weird. And then Google
Yeah.
Glass failed. So we've actually kind of been through this already.
But I wonder, has culture changed enough that they're okay with it now? Like, did it fail then and now people have just grown to accept it? Like, did filming people and putting it on the internet make, like, almost normalize it so now people are okay with it? I wonder if it'll fail again or if the response will be different.
That's an interesting point that, like, when Google Glass came out, maybe I'll just search when was Google Glass, because
I forgot
that
about
was
those.
2013.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Well,
Not that long.
they didn't look like regular glasses, which these ostensibly do. They looked like, you know, a sci-fi scanner, so maybe it was
Yeah.
more obvious that people were wearing them. And then B, as you say, smartphones were still relatively new at that point in time. So yeah, maybe it's just that in the intervening years we've become so inured to being filmed that this is now something where
It doesn't feel as different. Yeah, interesting. I actually didn't realize how much Meta glasses actually looked normal. Like, I just Googled them and I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, I wouldn't know if someone was wearing them. Like, they're with Ray-Ban. What do you mean? Yeah, wow, I just
Yeah.
got so unsettled. In my head, if it was the Meta glasses, but no, those are pretty camouflage. Kind of disheartening.
oh yeah, for those listening at home, do Google what they look like, because it will change your I think it'll change your opinion on them, because especially you see the ones with the black frames, the camera's black.
Yeah.
If you don't have a little light on saying, hey, these are like special smart glasses, they look otherwise identical to Ray-Bans or whatever. I think it's the big Luxottica, I think they're called. The big, like, they do all of the glasses, at least in the United States.
Yeah.
So if you buy any pair of glasses in the United States, at least you are not to put personal onus on this, but this is one where boycotting this will be difficult if you wanted to do so, because the companies that have got on board with this are effectively a monopoly in the marketplace.
It is hard sometimes out here to try and, to try and do good and be good. Oh my gosh, they are so good at making that hard, aren't they?
The crazy part is the light's not even really that big or noticeable. So even with the light on, I feel like you can't really
might think it's a
that people
glare.
are filming. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, maybe in a way to, I don't know, not revolt, oh my gosh, rebel against this, we should all go out to the club this weekend. Go dance. that can maybe be our challenge. Like, go out, go dance with your friends, go listen to some music. Let's encourage some of these music artists of today to be making us some more club music, to go out and have fun and remember what's really important, which is what's in the real life and what's all around us.
Yeah, live in the moment. Don't live through the recordings from your smart glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go bump some music.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the last paragraph of this BBC article. Quote, in December, a man posted a video complaining a woman he'd been recording on the subway in New York broke his Meta glasses. If he was expecting sympathy, he was wrong. The internet hailed the woman as a hero.
Good for that woman, and I'm really glad the internet was on the right side that day.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I was gonna say to put a button on it. What do you guys think about these things? Should they be banned? Is that going too far, or is this just something where you would hope that the uptake is not there?
I don't know the answer to that. It feels kind of hard to say, like, yes, a firm ban, because like you said, people do enjoy the technology, but I hope that eventually maybe there is some laws that catch up to it, maybe against, recording people without consent, so people can actually take action if they feel like they've been violated in a public space. I think that could be maybe a reaction to this. And I think in other countries there are that, but not so much here in the United States. So, maybe we just need to catch up to that too.
Yeah, I think sadly there's probably going to have to be more rules and other things put in place to counteract it. I don't know if a ban would be possible. But it'll be interesting to see like how it moves forward with this technology and everything happening.
Well, yeah, I guess it's one of those things where we just don't know. This is such a cutting edge frontier of a lot of the new technology that who knows how things will shake out. But I think that's about all we have time for on Doing the Thing today. Thank you so much, Sadie and Stauney. Where can our listeners find you too if they want to get more of your content?
You can check us out at More Than A Muse podcast. That's available anywhere you listen to podcasts, and just on our Instagram is More Than A Muse podcast. So come say hi.
Well, if you want more of my content, just wait, because I'm about to punch out of this one and punch into my one as we roll over into the next hour of content. Remember to catch new episodes of Doing the Thing live on Wizard Radio Station every Sunday from 8 p.m. UK time, and on all podcast platforms from Monday morning. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all next week.